Coming up, the Nintendo Switch 2 gets accessibility, and thankfully someone else cares.
You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
I can say that.
That is shameful,
What?
Stephen Scott. You can't say someone else cares, implying that you don't.
I don't care. Look, would anybody believe me if I said, the Nintendo Switch 2 has got accessibility? Which, by the way, it does. And that is big news.
It is.
But I'm not saying it's not big news. I'm saying I don't care.
Well, that's a disgrace, sir. Anyway, good morning.
There'll be none of that one true opinion nonsense around here. All right, I can be pleased about something, and I don't have to care about it all at the same time. That's called being alive. God damn it!
Oh, wow. Well, that's a strange start to the show. But yes, the Nintendo Switch 2. I do care, actually. All right.
Okay,
right.
I'm not saying you shouldn't care. I'm saying
Yeah, you
I
are.
don't. Why is it everybody thinks
oppressing
if I
me.
say? Why is everything when I say something somehow that's the rule of the land? It's like that's not how it works. You can have your
attitude.
opinion. What do you
Okay.
think about the Nintendo Switch 2 accessibility story, Shaun Preece?
Well, I'm going to discuss it later on in the show with Steve Saylor. He knows his onions.
Steve Onions is joining us later. Steve Onions Saylor will be joining us. Yes, the Sailor is on deck a little bit later, and he is going to be joining us. Now, look, if you don't follow Steve Saylor on YouTube, you really got to, because this guy is putting a power of work into making this information available about all kinds of games, consoles, devices, everything. He was on with us recently, of course, talking about the new adaptive joystick that Microsoft have brought out, which is very cool. And he was demonstrating that for us. He got hands-on with it very early on, which was great. And he's a great friend of the show. And, you know, like I say, I'm joking around a little bit, but, you know, I'm not a gamer. I'm not going to pretend I am. And, you know, for a lot of us, I think, a lot of us who are in the blind category, those of us without enough usable vision to play games, I do think, if I'm honest, a lot of us kind of see this news and go, okay, what does this really mean, right? What does it really mean? So if I hear a screen reader is now available on the Nintendo Switch 2, I think, okay. And then I think, right, so does that mean all the games are accessible? So can I just go out and buy this thing and then play all the games on it? And I fear not, which is why we want Steve on today to clarify all of this for us and give us a bit of a story on this, a bit of an update on where we're at. Because, you know, as much as I hear about the Xbox and the PlayStation, and I love hearing about them, I get a little bit despondent, because then I think, okay, I loved Grand Theft Auto back in the day. Does this mean I can play it now? And the answer is no, right? It's not available to me. It's not a game that's accessible. It's not got audio walkthroughs. There are games, though, that do. So, anyway, look, we're going to get Steve on later. It's very interesting. Let's not have the conversation now, but, you know, we'll get Steve in on it a little bit later. But, yeah, anyway, how are you? All good? Everything good for you?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm very good.
It's Friday, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's strange, isn't it? It just doesn't feel like Friday today.
Any plans for the weekend, Stephen Scott?
Sorry, going anywhere on your holidays, sir?
Yes. Well, I'm cutting your hair. Carry on.
Snip, snip, snip.
Let's get the small talk out of the way.
I want to ask you a question about this, right? So there was a story the other day. I don't know if it was necessarily a story or more of a sort of polling question on social media. And it was, would you let AI cut your hair?
Oh, yes. Very interesting question. Now,
just to give you some, we'll give a little bit of context to this, right? Of course, we're talking about robotics here. So robotics, this is the next big thing, right? So at the moment, we're all focused on things like ChatGPT and Copilot and all the wonderfulness that brings. But that is software, essentially, right? That's the brain. But what about the hardware? What's the body going to look like? And that's where a lot of these companies are going next. And there's no doubt that Apple and Google and others will be working away in the background in secret labs, you know, developing machines. We know, for example, with, is it Tesla? They had that, I think it was Tesla, wasn't it? The autonomous robot,
they had the
Automan, or what his name was?
Yeah, their
wasn't called Automan, but Cyberman.
Yes, they did, but they're
Optimus. That's what it was called.
It's very. It doesn't. Yes, it doesn't matter what they're called. They're. I gotta say it. They're fake.
Well, look, that one that was shown off at the Cyber event last year.
Yes.
they were showing off the cyber cab and they were showing off the cyber bus or whatever it was. Just stick cyber in front of everything, you know?
Yes.
Like AI now is now just cyber in terms of robotics. Just stick cyber in front of it. Oh, I've got a cyber cup. You know, it's like, great. What does that mean? So, you know, they had shown off this Optimus robot, and then it turned out the whole thing was actually remote controlled at the time, right? So it wasn't even doing what it was suggesting. It was like, you know, here's the proof of concept, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't think that's cool at all, especially when they're not owning up to this. You know, it's very good to say, hey, look what the future could be like. We're all in on that. We love that. But we're not there yet. But you're absolutely right. There is a lot of work going on. It does feel like the actual engineering of robotics has been there for the longest time. And it has been the software. It's the intelligence that's been missing. I don't think AI is quite there yet, but, you know, we've made huge leaps with computer vision and intelligence and being able to navigate around in the physical world. So it doesn't seem a stretch that they're not too far away.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think immediately about iRobot and the work they've done in the vacuum space. And
I thought you meant the movie. Yeah.
No, hang on. Have I got that right then? iRobot. That's the name of the company.
It is iRobot. Yes, yes.
Is that also the movie?
That's always the movie. Yes, with Will Smith, where they take over.
Never seen it.
What? Oh, it's fantastic.
Do you know there's some robot movies I just think, I can't be bothered with it. It's just more robots going off killing everybody. It's like going to see Titanic. I know what's going to happen. The ship's going to sink and everyone's going to die. And so what?
Okay. All right. Can I just say again, SpongeBob the movie. If you want to cheer yourself up, there's no death in there.
Cassandra. That's what you want on Netflix. Cassandra. I'm telling you.
Unbelievable.
Everyone who's watched it has been equally horrified and laughed at the same time. It's just a weird show.
I feel and I fear, Stephen Scott, we've gone off on a slight tangent. So
no, I was asking you, would you let AI cut your hair?
About 10 minutes ago you were, yes.
Are we in a rush? We're here for the hour.
All right, okay. Yes, I would.
Would you?
Would you?
No. I am like Homer Simpson, right? There's 3 strands of my hair left. It's a very, very quick trip to my barber. I don't know if I'd let AI do that, to be honest. I'd just be terrified that, you know, one wrong move or a Windows update away from my head being cut off.
Well, yeah.
Some might be pleased about that, by the way. Some might write in and say, have a go, Stephen. Try it.
You say that, right? Which sort of implies or infers that you don't have any confidence in AI from a physical safety point of view. Yet, I can guarantee if there was a self-driving car outside your house right now, you would jump straight in it without a second thought.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I will say I think there's probably been more work been done on driverless cars than has been on hair-cutting robots. I think that's probably safe to say. I think to myself, okay, if the car does crash, I'm in a cage with a seatbelt on. It's less... I mean, I'm not saying it would be great if the thing went off a cliff.
No, not at all.
But, I feel a little bit safer. I don't know. I just, in my head, I do. I think it's because I really want a self-driving car. So I'm kind of almost prepared to overlook some of the challenges.
You don't care about a haircut. Yeah,
and I couldn't care less about hair, no.
Of course, it's not quite as simple as that. With something like that, you would hope there's some sort of, 3D mapping of your head so it knows exactly where you are. It's not just relying on AI, because I've got to say, the more and more I use AI, the more and more I see, actually, it's quite dumb in places. It's still impressive, but it does get a lot of things wrong.
You're so right. That's the problem I find with it. And funnily enough, I've been using ChatGPT a lot, and I've been starting to think maybe it's time to invest some time in other AIs. I mean, like Microsoft Copilot is actually really good, right? And I never really go near it. I never really go there for some reason. I don't know if it's just because I naturally just go back to where I started, which is always ChatGPT, and I somehow think that it has all the answers. But, Claude from Anthropic is very good. In fact, very good.
I've only used that once or twice, I think. It's something... You know what, though? I got to say, Copilot in Windows 11, if you're running Windows 11 and you keep it up to date, as you don't really have a choice to do anyway, I've been using Copilot lately, and every time... it just blows me away. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still got the AI stupidity now and again, but in terms of response, it's absolutely amazing. And yesterday, I asked it for the lyrics to something and whatever, I can't remember, and it made up a song about me for some reason. And then I said, okay, but can you sing it instead of just saying the words? And then it started singing to me.
Wow.
I mean, it did a tune. It was a terrible tune. But yeah, actually, Copilot on Windows is really, really useful. And if you haven't used it in a while, it has changed. So I would definitely say, go and check it out because it's really cool. And there is a new keyboard shortcut, by the way. It's Alt and Space to start Copilot, which is very handy. As us keyboard warriors will know, Alt and Space when you're in a window will bring up the system menu for move, close, minimize, maximize, and things like that. But actually, it's also now a shortcut for Copilot. The first time you need to actually type Copilot into the start menu, but when you run it, it will say, do you want to enable this shortcut? And for some reason, it will ask you that like twice more. Are you sure you want this shortcut? Yes, I'm sure. I like this keyboard shortcut. But yeah, it's actually good. For the voice conversation, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's just really handy.
I actually preferred the voice conversation on Copilot to ChatGPT. I remember, I think I was telling you I was setting up another laptop at the time, and I was having some issues setting it up, and I was talking to Copilot at the same time, trying to understand what was going wrong. Yeah. And the conversation was starting to get really natural because I'm like, that's not working. Okay, let's think this through. It's like almost trying to calm me down. Like, I want to calm down, Stephen.
It does get like that. You're absolutely right.
It was great. It was actually really, really good. So yeah, I think I'm going to invest some time in others. I haven't tested the Copilot app on Mac recently because the last time it was a little bit of a dumpster fire in terms of accessibility.
Oh, it still is. Don't get me wrong. Even on Windows, you can tab around and you can make, I can find the, speak to it button and whatever and type a message button, but you still get lost in the navigation. Isn't that so annoying? No, they're all like that as far as I'm concerned. The interface needs a lot of accessibility work.
Yeah, but it's a really simple interface. It's a chat box. I mean, honestly, it's a text field, it's a message list, and it's a speak to me button, and maybe a couple of other buttons for deep research or selecting particular tools. There's not a lot to it. Why is that not easily accessible? I don't get it.
Considering the technology we're trying to use here, the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of current technology, and yet, the accessibility on the interface, we'll come back to it. Really?
There's a service that I've just signed up for, actually. It's accessible-ish. I'm going to spend some time speaking to the developers, actually, because I have spoken to them before. We did an interview with them. We never actually aired this interview because at the time the app was very inaccessible and I didn't really feel comfortable promoting it or talking about it. But it's an app. It is an app called NOA, N-O-A, and essentially it's an app. News over audio is basically what the acronym stands for, and it's an app which gives you access to Bloomberg, Telegraph, New York Times, Washington Post, The Atlantic, lots of big publications, and it's giving you that audio, and it's really well read, human read articles, and it's I would say very blind friendly in that sense of you've got these really good articles read out. It's selected cuts. It's selected cuts, right? So it's not the whole newspaper you're getting, but it's selected cuts from each paper, and basically it curates a list for you each day based on your likes and what you're interested in. The app is, it's accessible enough to get to the articles and play them, but there are a lot of unlabeled buttons. There's the tab group at the bottom of the screen is not accessible without screen recognition on. Oh, so these are the kind of irritants.
Yeah.
Well, actually, without screen recognition, you get nothing in that group. It doesn't let you navigate through that group at all. It just sticks to it like a bar. It thinks it's just a bar and that's it.
Right.
So you have to turn screen recognition on. More coffee, please. To be able to get into that, to actually navigate around. Once you do turn screen recognition on, it will work. But then there's other areas of the app that you really have to turn screen recognition off.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a nightmare to navigate. So yeah, I'm going to go back to them because I think there's great promise in this. I like this whole news over audio. The audio is good. They've almost kind of tried to do a podcast style version of news, which I quite like. So
it's a good idea. Yeah, it's so cool. It's funny. I mentioned Dolphin Easy Reader. I know I keep going on about it, but I signed up for the RNIB newsstand, which is access to newspapers and magazines.
News agent.
Sorry, yes, newsagent. Where did I get newsstand from? Oh, that used to be on Amazon, I think.
That's right. Yes, that was the Amazon one.
I thought, you know what, I used to love the magazines back in the day. Zap 64, PC Gamer, all that. T3 Edge, yeah. Let's see what's out there, because I just thought magazines have surely just gone away to nothing. So I went through. I'll be honest, there wasn't a huge amount in there. But going back to, there was one that I used to get, Computer Active, here in the UK. I believe it was out every 2 weeks. And being able to go back through and browse through was really, really nice. Now, I can access this through a website, right? So I don't know if it's just nostalgia and just going back to those days. I really used to enjoy reading through it. But again, it was great to get that. There was also one there called Access It, or Access IT, by the way, which is a magazine for accessibility technology. And can I just say, we were mentioned in there in an article, specifically Janine's How to Change Your AirTag Battery.
Oh, yeah, that's an excellent
was mentioned.
Yeah.
And I used Janine's demo to change my battery the other week. So thank you, Janine.
Oh, quick shout out to Michael Hansen, by the way, who started following me the other day, or following us on the show on Mastodon. He had heard the show, and he'd heard, and also a huge thanks to InnoSearch as well for telling everybody about this. We'd talked about Tape It, the app, and this was, of course, not us that mentioned it. It was one of our listeners who mentioned this, but people are going off and getting it and really liking this app, which is great to hear. So hope you're enjoying it, Michael. That's cool. Now, we did an interview with the developer. I meant to mention this the other day, but we did an interview with the developer of Tape It a while ago on the show. So we'll resurface that perhaps. And
go to the website, doubletaponair.com, and try the search function.
Great. Thanks for saying that. Now I need to go and make sure that works. Thanks, Sean.
I've got to say, the WordPress search function can be a little bit hit and miss, but I've been using it lately. I used it to find Janine's AirTag demo in there.
Did it work?
I typed in AirTag, search results, just jumped through the headers. Straight away, I found it.
Are you saying that all the work I've done in the background might actually be doing some good? Oh, I'm a hero.
You are a hero, Stephen Scott. Yeah, check it out.
I'm very surprised at that. I was not expecting that at all. So Skype is getting killed off in May. May the 5th, to be exact. Do you care?
Absolutely not. It's funny you saying that. I've just noticed that it's still running down in my system tray in the hidden icons there. It's like, what are you still doing there? Go away, go away. I mean, Skype was of its time. I can totally understand why it's going away. I'm slightly still concerned that it's being replaced with Teams, because try as I might, Teams just doesn't sit right with me. I don't feel comfortable. Maybe I just haven't put enough time into it. I just don't.
I think the big issue
I just don't like it.
No,
there you go.
I think for a lot of people, there's probably a PTSD comes along with using Teams, which is you've got to deal with it at work perhaps, and then if you come home, the last thing you want to do is jump on a Teams call, right? Because it's just like, oh no, I don't want to deal with this again. It's too big, it's too bloated, it's not a pleasant experience for me. It's too much. It's trying to be too much in one app. I feel that's where Microsoft sometimes goes a little bit over the score. They try to really bulk up each app. It would be smarter, wouldn't it, to actually think of a suite like, okay, so you've got Outlook, for example, which has got mail, and you've got the ability to move between tabs like, mail and people and tasks and calendar. Yeah. Just add that in there. Add the meeting part in there. But you can have Teams set up Outlook events. You can have Outlook set up Teams, and it's all too much. If you're working in that ecosystem,
I agree.
You're going to be working between all these different apps anyway. So why would you have like 4 different routes into the same thing? I don't know. It just feels too bloated to me. Skype wasn't that though. It was a communication app, right? It was a way to connect with people. I was listening to
actually got good. I thought I quite liked
the audio was great. I mean, I was listening to the guys on Mac Accessibility last night. They were recording their episode of their podcast, and I was listening on the live stream, and they were talking about it. And this is what made me think about it, because they were saying, it was great at the time because, and one of the guys on the show said, one thing we've lost and I kind of get why, but one thing we've lost along the way with messaging was the ability to know when someone was online. You would see a friend pop up online, you go, oh, I'll go and talk to them. Whereas now, you send a message into the ether, you'll get a response back when you get it back.
All right.
And
is that a criticism of me? All right, I'm sorry.
no, but I think well,
No,
yeah,
no,
but actually,
sorry.
maybe it is. Maybe it is
Yes,
subconsciously. I
very
think
true.
it might be. But no, but I think it's interesting. But I guess that was because at the time you were literally going online, right? You were dialing up to the internet to connect online.
That's right. It was separated into sections. I'm thinking of ICQ, online and offline contacts. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, kids.
see.
There was a time the internet wasn't just always on.
Ah,
You had to
ICQ.
actually connect to it for it to be live. Your computer wasn't always sitting there on the internet.
Do you know what I found? I found that, I must admit, and I never thought I'd say this, audio messages on WhatsApp or even iMessage to that degree, although trying to record an iMessage in iMessage now is just awful. I'm kind of going away from audio messages because it's just so much quicker to read a text message that comes in, or a notification comes in and the screen reader just reads it out straight away. And otherwise you got to go in, you got to double tap on it, listen to the audio message. If it's one of mine, you got to listen to 5 minutes of me singing whatever song is stuck in my head.
That's the bit I like.
Before I get there, but I still, my default is audio messages because I do like it. It just works so well. But
I know what your problem is. I know exactly what your problem is.
Yes.
You want the message to play on the Meta Ray-Bans or on the watch or something else. I think that's the biggest problem for me. Is when you get a voice message on a device that you can't play it on. That's when you think, oh, if I get a message on my watch, I know I've got, like, is it Watch Chat? I think I've got, which is the one I use on the watch. But the problem is that the notification comes in via WhatsApp.
It does.
You get the notification, Shaun Preece voice message, and you go, all right, okay, I'll get to that when I get back to my phone.
That's
true. I could just open up the app on there, but it's a thing. You got to open an app and you got to press a button.
You can listen to it on your Meta Ray-Bans. You simply say play message.
Does that work?
And it will play it, but there is a length limit. And our audio messages, you got no hope. It will say this message is too long or something like that. So
summarize this and take away the singing. That's what we should be able to do.
Yeah, that's right. We need AI. Talking of which, someone asked me yesterday, have you seen the Meta AI contact in your WhatsApp? No, I haven't seen it. But we talked about this as AI has been implemented, Meta AI, I should say, has been implemented across services. And it seems like for some people, they are starting to see Meta AI as a contact in their WhatsApp chats.
Yes, I have seen this, yes.
Have you got it in there?
I do. Yeah, I do. I don't really know what it does. I can't think of a reason to need it, but I haven't explored it. But it did pop up. I did hear Meta AI as an option.
How often has it been you think, oh, someone sent me a link somewhere. Which chat was that in and where was that? I mean, it'd be so cool if you could just say, can you find the message?
Right, so is that the implementation idea?
Honestly, I don't know, but I would assume so, and I definitely hope so.
It's funny, I often think that for social media. So I go onto Mastodon quite a lot these days, and X as well, but more Mastodon. And, I sometimes see a message go by. There was one the other day, for example, about the app I use, Mona, which I love on the Mac. I use it on the Mac, I use it on the iPhone, and it's just great. And someone had put up, because it's great on the Mac, but to me, I feel there's a lot more I could learn about how to use it more effectively with keyboard shortcuts. And somebody had posted something about keyboard shortcuts in Mona. And it's, of course, gone down the list now, and I can't remember where it came from. And I just love to be able to surface it. And it's not, you can't seem to search very easily with Mastodon to find that. Yeah. And of course, there's so many posts, so you're searching the world, So it doesn't really work that easily. But, I kind of want to say, there was a post recently about, keyboard shortcuts, and it could just surface up that information. That would be amazing. So could someone get on that? Yeah,
we need Grok for Mastodon.
Oof,
that's right.
Dear.
Have you tried Grok? I have no idea. I don't use X at all.
I kind of don't want to, if I'm honest. I'm not an anti-Elon or any of that nonsense, but...
I'm getting it.
I must admit, we're not far off it. But, I don't know. Something about that whole platform, that whole thing. Like, I know people have signed up to the premium service with that, and I just don't know if I want to give my money over to that particular.
All right. Yeah, it's fair enough.
I feel like I'm joining a cult over there, and I don't fancy doing it.
I'm going to dive back into Mastodon. I know I say this every couple of years or whatever. I'm going to dive back into social media, but
honestly, do you know what? The water is warm. It is pleasant. Yeah. Put your feet in and enjoy, because it is actually a really nice place to be. Look, there's always idiots there. There's always problems. It's social media,
right? Will they not get bitten off? if I have a paddle. I come out with no feet.
What, with all the
all the sharks biting away at you. No, is it?
that's
nice
X. No, Mastodon's
right.
fine.
Okay.
There's little dolphins in there. There's little dolphins.
I have got Mona. I believe I bought it or subscribed to it or whatever. I have got Mona, but I want to try it on the computer. And that thing we mentioned before, is it Enaphore?
Enaphore, that's a website, yeah. Enaphore.
I just can't remember any of my login details, what server I'm on. I don't know how to find that. But
do you know what? This is why I love iCloud keychain, because I remember nothing. And thankfully it does. So, problems. So, because you were asking, I was having issues with Safari the other day. I don't know if the latest update's done this, but I can't seem to get easily back into the web content. So you have to, when you get onto a web page, as soon as you open up Safari, you're kind of stuck again in the toolbar back like in the old days. And the way around it now, or used to be, that you would just sort of hit the first heading. So you'd either do VO Command H, and it would jump to the first heading. And if there wasn't a heading, you could do B for button or something just to get you into the web content.
Jump into the content, yeah.
It doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't work. All it will do is, if you do button, for example, all it'll do is move to the next button in the toolbar. You're like, oh, I didn't want that. So, you have to uninteract, move to the web content, and, then go back in and interact again. That's old school, actually. That's the way of doing it maybe a couple of years ago, which is kind of annoying. So I hope they fix that.
I remember. The amount of time I must have wasted bouncing between, interacting and then uninteracting and then trying to get to that web content back in the day when I was using a Mac used to drive me crazy.
I got a WhatsApp,
inconsistent.
I got a OneDrive link the other day. Someone sent me a OneDrive link. It was our good friend Greg in Pennsylvania. He sent me this link with the link to the file that he was talking about. David Woodbridge had done a demo of using Revo 2. Yeah. And good demo, by the way. It didn't quite work for me. I think the demo, either it's a different version of the Revo that David was using in that demo, because a lot of that is not working for me, or Revo have updated things and it's kind of knocked off what David was doing. I don't know how old that demo was.
You got your Revo set to a different language.
I'm starting to wonder if this is just needing completely reset from scratch, right? Because I'm thinking everything, well, not everything, but there are a lot of things David was saying in that demo. I'm pressing the button and it wasn't doing that. It was doing something else. So I don't know if they have updated something, or I don't know.
You've broken it.
I would. Okay. Can I be brutally honest? I'll trust David over anything else at this point.
Over yourself.
I'd settle over myself. Absolutely. Anyway, we'll figure that out. But the point was, I was trying to get the file downloaded from OneDrive, went onto the Mac. You're thinking, okay, once this page loads up, there must be a download button. So I use Item Chooser, which is VO and I. It brings up every element on the web page, and I can just type download, and there's the download button, right? Or it says download menu. So I hit enter on that. I then select it, and it closes the window. I don't know how or why it did that, but it did. So I tried again. I found it once and couldn't find it again. Couldn't find this download menu at all. So I thought, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to jump on the PC, see if that makes any difference. So I opened the same link in the PC, brings up Edge. I found it in like 2 seconds, and I downloaded the file. And I thought,
Windows is always the answer. But to be fair, that's like, I'm sure iCloud works beautifully on the Mac. On Windows, not
I just
so
think
good.
you fight. I feel with a Mac, honestly, sometimes you're just wrestling it more. A PC feels a little bit more intuitive. I mean, I say intuitive, that's maybe the wrong word, but I feel that you've got more grip on the road. I feel like when you're on a Mac, you're sometimes skating across the, an icy road, which is actually the very opposite of how I used to feel about Windows and Mac. It's interesting. My view has kind of completely shifted on that.
Can I just say, I'm slightly concerned, but because I did get a notification this morning saying that many files have been deleted from your OneDrive.
I got that as well. I don't know what these files are.
And I thought, now I do share OneCloud with you in places. So what have you done?
Moving on. So let's talk gaming. I don't know what I've done. I got that email as well. At some point I'll have to figure out what's going on, by which point it'll be too late and it'll be all irreversible. Listen, let's talk about Nintendo Switch 2. It's got some cool new accessibility features, and who better to speak to about all of this than the Sailor himself, Steve Saylor, the blind gamer on YouTube. He's back with us here on Double Tap. Good to have you back with us, Steve.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be back. It's it's great to be able to talk video games with you guys. So it's thank you so much.
Yeah, the worst people in the world to talk video games with, right? This must be the worst.
Non-gamers. So this
must exactly be a great chat for you. This must be great. Here we go.
I'm a gamer. I play Night Manager on the Echo Smart Speaker. That's my game.
I knew he's a hero, isn't he? He's such a hero.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Listen, of course, Nintendo Switch 2 news. I've been watching your videos following the announcement of the new Nintendo Switch 2 coming in June. Tell us what's coming up and why you are so excited.
Yeah, so this is the sequel to the original Nintendo Switch that came out in 2017. So it's been about 8 years since Nintendo put out a new console. And this is the first time that Nintendo decided not to really make anything wild and crazy for its next console compared to the past, because they really had a massive success with the Switch, and they were like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they improved quite a bit of it. So we've got a larger screen. It's a much brighter screen. There's a better HD rumble. There is also better graphics performance. So it can be able to play games at a much better frame rate and a much higher sort of graphic performance. And also there was some interesting accessibility news that came out of that. Initially, when the Switch launched, it didn't have a lot of accessibility options within the operating system itself. Over the course of the 8 years, they were able to add in button remapping and also a zoom functionality within the system itself. But with the Switch 2, they've kind of not only improved on that and basically kind of added those features in as before, but including a text size option where you can be able to set for the standard size all the way up to a maximum size, whatever that sort of size point will be. I haven't taken a look at it just yet, but and then there's going to be, for the first time on a Nintendo console, a screen reader that is going to be built into the system. We don't know yet whether that will reach into the games themselves or if it's just being able to navigate the operating system of the console itself, but there's some interesting new stuff that I'm so glad that they were able to have. So they're finally essentially catching up to their counterparts on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, well, that's a good point to make, that the PlayStation and Xbox they already have a screen reader as part of their accessibility functionality, right?
Correct. Yes. I think PlayStation added at least the screen reader in PlayStation 4, so they kind of carried that over into the PS5, and I think they added a few new languages when that launched. And I think Xbox Series X was always kind of including their operating system already had a narrator and magnifier kind of built in. So that was it's because that's more based off of Windows, and the Windows already had that for quite a few years. So that was also something that they launched with their recent console back in 2020.
Absolutely. So these new features, I mean, the two that are standing out to me, as you mentioned, is the text size and the screen reader. The screen reader being massive news, actually. But I'm wondering, I mean, the original Nintendo Switch, the Switch 1, if we're going to call it that, you mentioned it has, over the 8 years, implemented those accessibility features. Do you think there's a chance that they could retrofit the Switch 1 with some of these, the screen reader and the text size? Do you think that'd happen?
It's possible. I can definitely see that happening. I think probably the only limitation I would see from a technical side would be whether or not the original Switch, can be able to handle the performance of a screen reader or maximum or sort of larger text size. It really just kind of comes down to hopefully it can be able to do that. I definitely don't see why it wouldn't, other than potentially it just couldn't be able to graphically perform it at a place where it's usable or it just doesn't break for users. So yeah, I could see that.
Could I ask you, how does this thing look? I'm trying to visualize what the Switch looks like. In my head, it's like a tablet with sort of controllers on either side of it that come apart or come off, so you can connect the tablet to the TV. Is that the device?
Sort of, yeah. So think of it as a larger phone, because more phones nowadays are about roughly around 5 to 6 inch size screen.
Yeah.
So now with the Switch 2, we're looking at about a 7-inch screen, probably closer to an 8-inch screen. And they have the feature. Their main feature with the Switch was the Joy-Cons, which are the two controllers that attach to the sides of the Switch, and they both have basically thumbsticks with basically face buttons on each side. You can technically take them off and they turn into two controllers instead of just acting as the one for the Switch. So it kind of is like a souped up tablet with a gaming side of it. And the Switch 2, essentially, instead of it used to be where the Joy-Cons, you had to kind of slide to on the side to kind of lock them into place. That's where that snap sound would come from. But this time for the Switch 2, it's magnetic. So they can actually be able to attach on the side without having to try to find that groove that's in there and that slider to be able to put it down. So, and then it has it's a pretty strong magnet, and you actually, in order to be able to separate the two Joy-Cons, you actually have to push a button on the back in order to be able to kind of release the magnet, and then you can be able to pull the Joy-Cons apart.
Very cool. Before we dig into what the accessibility features actually mean for gameplay, if anything, I want to quickly talk about the console itself. I mean, there is seemingly a shift to handheld gaming, right? We have the Steam Deck, also, there's rumors that the Xbox is going to be released in a handheld format anytime soon. So how do you find these? Are these better than the standard? I'm thinking of the old SNES, but there's a PlayStation or the standard Xbox.
Sega Game Gear, hello.
Yeah,
oh, sorry. Yeah. PSP, okay, DS, yes.
Yeah. I will say, actually, Nintendo was kind of the progenitors of handheld gaming. I mean, we're going back to the original Game Boy back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so they've kind of always had a handheld console along with their regular console, going from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance, and then the 3DS or the DS. And so the Switch was kind of like a natural evolution of what their handheld gaming was like. And actually, it's funny enough, when the original Switch was announced, there was a pretty famous trailer where they announced it, where you would see people on like this balcony kind of having a party, and they were just playing a little tiny console, like a little tablet. And that was the original Switch. And people were making fun of it, being like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Well, turns out that actually it did, and it did extremely well. And I think that's what sort of prompted a lot of PC manufacturers to be like, hey, like the handheld gaming is a big deal. Let's try to make it our own. And so that's where the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, that basically has Windows built into it, and a few other sort of handhelds that has Windows on it as well. And like you said, Xbox is working on a proper handheld with their Xbox operating system. PlayStation has a PlayStation Portal, which basically connects to your current PlayStation 5 and streams it to a handheld device. So the handheld gaming market is now starting to boom a lot, and the Switch is kind of just been a big part of that, and actually the kind of beginning of this kind of big push into handheld gaming.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the kids have got phones in their hands, right? I mean, at least it gives them a chance to put those phones down and pick something else up for a change.
Oh, yeah, there's a big difference. Right, okay, come on now, Stephen.
But no, here's the thing, too, is that Nintendo, whenever they design their games, they design it to be where anybody can pick up and play, regardless. And they kind of, that's where a lot of the kind of built-in accessibility of their games kind of really does come into effect. It's not fully accessible. I would say Nintendo doesn't always develop for accessibility in mind. They are starting to now, but initially they designed based on demographics, which is so anyone that's like age 5 to 65 can pick up a Nintendo game and should be able to play it pretty much right away. And that is inherently accessible, not fully, but it's inherently accessible. And so to be able to see like games that are their console counterparts are just now clamoring to be on the Switch and the Switch 2. I think that's just going to open it up to a lot of players and just casual gamers as well.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. I mean, Shaun and I are. Sean's in his 70s and I'm in my 40s, and and we've been playing these games for a long time. You can't tell, can you? He's so youthful.
No,
so youthful. But we've been playing these games for so long. So when you think back, you think actually, you know what? We're talking 30, 35 years ago. We started maybe playing with some of these games, and it's starting to kind of. For a lot of us, it's like retro, or it's a new lease of life on a name we've known for a long time. So, you're right. It's not just for kids.
No, definitely. And I think that's one of the beauties of this kind of industry is that it could have very easily just been it's a kids thing, and we'll just kind of stick to that and kind of move on. And, I think a lot of us sort of did, and like as we started to get older in our teenage years and into our 20s, it's like, okay, yeah, video games was a kid thing, but over time it started to kind of like bring people back just with the amount, like the evolution and the updated graphics and capabilities and being able to tell amazing stories. Like we're a long way from just being able to move a little Pac-Man across a little board trying to be able to eat ghosts. Like now we're having stories that are not only amazing to be able to play, but are being turned into movies and award-winning TV shows like The Last of Us or Fallout. And they're like, that's how far video games have come. And it's just, and Nintendo is really, they've always kind of been steadfast of like, they want to make sure as many people as possible can be able to play their games. And that's a great philosophy to have. They've been slow at the upturn for accessibility, but we can definitely see signs that sort of tide is starting to turn.
Oh, we're seeing that throughout the game industry, though, and I think it's down to a lot of work, like people like you in our community, pushing that accessibility. You've been doing it for years, and I think we're starting to see, it pay off. I think it's really cool. But let's actually dig into that a little bit more, because I'm looking at these accessibility features. I'm thinking this is great that we're launching with these, but I'm still slightly, confused about where are these actually going to be usable? So are these just going to be usable going through the main, home screen menus and settings and things like that? And when I actually load up a game, is the zoom going to disappear, or the screen reader is not going to be functioning, or the invert colors is going to disappear? Do you know what I mean? How does that work?
Yeah. I would say probably the one that will still work even when you are playing a game is Zoom, because it is designed to kind of be sort of an overlay on top of whatever's on the screen. So that will always work. Whether or not the screen reader or say the invert colors, will that work within the game? I think it always still depends on the game themselves, whether they're going to have that natively in there. And unfortunately with just the limitations of the original Switch hardware, that was difficult to do. I kind of case in point was there's an amazing Xbox game made by Obsidian Studios. They made a game called Pentiment, which is very story based. It's kind of set in the in sort of the Renaissance era of France, and it's very kind of like when you're sort of transcribing books. Like, and then it was basically people in monasteries and churches were transcribing the Bible, and kind of the printing press was. So a lot of story based off of that, and there's a lot of like really like fancy fonts that are used in that. In the Xbox release of the game, there was a working screen reader that basically allowed it to read every single bit of text that was on screen. But I think due to the technical limitations when that was ported over to the original Switch, that screen reader was not functional, and that was kind of a disappointment for myself and other blind players. So I think with the capabilities that the Switch 2 has now, I think we will start to see more games being able to accommodate for that. I mean, we're still kind of in a space now where still like it is still hard to be able to get any game to be able to have a screen reader built in. It's getting better, but we're not at a point where every game that's being released will have it. But now that the Switch 2 can be able to handle a lot more power from its GPU and its CPU that has been upgraded, I can definitely see that in the future, we're going to have a lot more accessible games. And as Nintendo is starting to accommodate for more accessibility and have that natively built in, I think that'll just be a natural progression for their design philosophy. And hopefully we'll be able to see more, like we'll be able to, let's just say this. I would love to be able to see a totally blind person be able to play something like a Mario or like a Legend of Zelda game in the future for sure.
Do you know what? Maybe this is me, maybe it is my age being 70. It's still very hard for me to sort of comprehend how someone with no vision, like myself, someone with just light perception, let's say, could play a game like Mario, and how many games like that would be accessible to me. I totally see the usefulness of these accessibility features. I was a low vision gamer for the longest time, and it gave me, I enjoyed it so much, but there came a point where I couldn't do it anymore. So it's so important that features like zoom and whatever else, text size, are still there, because there's lots of visually impaired gamers that can take advantage of this. But I'm thinking something like, let's talk about Nintendo, because they're all about the games, right? The gameplay. The Mario Kart World is being launched with this as part of a bundle, or you can get it separate. And what's the other one? Donkey Kong Bonanza, I mean, another huge game, right? What's their history been when it comes to accessibility in their games, even to any degree whatsoever with Nintendo?
It's spotty. I will say to that, and like I said, it's definitely based off of. They have a design philosophy around their demographics, so they, like I said, they designed it based on age, so that anyone can be able to play it. Which is inherently sometimes accessible. Like for instance, a majority of their games are there's not a lot of dialogue, but there's a lot of subtitle for every bit of dialogue that's in the game, which is great for deaf and hard of hearing players, but for blind players, that doesn't really help out as much as we would hope. So and also there is a part of this that unfortunately it is a little bit of Japanese culture where accessibility is not necessarily a big thing. It is in sort of the Western world. It is something that is still kind of considered just kind of like just push it to the side. We don't really talk about it. We don't really work around that. And so, but like as I've started to kind of see over the past few years, there have been quite a few sort of Japanese developers that are taking accessibility seriously. Like Capcom, for instance, is a great example. They've been consistently including accessibility as part of their games in different franchises, and they're getting better. They're not the best at it, but you could see the improvement over time. And with the Switch 2 being able to include and also have accessibility information on the launch day of when they're talking about the Switch 2 in their direct, having that as well as a game that has disabled representation with Drag and Drive, which is a game that basically is 3-on-3 wheelchair basketball. Whether or not that's actually going to be accessible, we'll have to see. I haven't yet to get my hands on it. But we are starting to see Nintendo start to change their philosophy around designing for accessibility, and hopefully that'll continue to grow so that we can be able to get games like Donkey Kong or Mario or Zelda and be able to have it fully playable by blind players as well as fully deaf and hard hearing and motor disabled players as well.
I think we're getting somewhere, and things are moving in a really positive way. You cannot deny the progress. And yes, people like myself cannot play these games. Shaun can't play these games. But I'm so glad that people like you and others who are low vision can. This is key. This is really important because it starts something. It continues a dialogue, and it shows that there's a market out here, which there is. And I, of course, hope that one day we can all start playing these games. But I think there's a reality. I tend to get a little bit real about this and think, you know what? If it was, and I go back to Grand Theft Auto every time, but how would I play that in that environment?
Let it go. Yeah, but we said the same thing when touchscreens came on the smartphone, right? How are we ever going to use a flat sheet of glass? That's never going to be accessible.
Well, it is up to the imaginations of those who create these things,
It
right?
is. It's not impossible.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we can't think of it yet.
Yeah, and I think it's it is a slow progress. I mean, I will admit. I mean, we've definitely seen a lot, like a ramping up of the acceleration of that accessibility just within the past few years. I mean, I kind of look back as like at the time when the Switch was originally released, there wasn't a lot of talk about accessibility in games at that point. There was some within the industry, but not a heck of a lot. But it's only been within the past few years where it's just really has ramped up. So yeah, I mean, I am disappointed still that there are definitely a lot of popular games that are not playable, like Grand Theft Auto. I mean, and we're looking at the launch of Grand Theft Auto 6, which it has been said it could be potentially the biggest launch in entertainment history, not just gaming history, but entertainment history. But whether or not it's going to be accessible, it's kind of a wait and see. But I am hopeful for the industry in that, because there are a lot of people that are understanding why accessibility is important, and it's just right now just figuring out how. You could see the progress being made. We're seeing studios that have never done any accessibility before, and within the past year or two have been releasing games that have had accessibility built in for the very first time within their studio's history. So it's slow progress. I know it's probably like slower than what a lot of us would like, but I am hopeful that we will start to see a lot more accommodations and a lot more customizations can be made, and a lot more design choices can be made that's a lot more accessible. But
let's not underplay it. I think, it is absolutely true that there are a lot of blind players like me who would love to do this, but equally, I am so pleased there is progress. And sometimes you just got to stop and acknowledge the work that has been done. Because look, what we want to do, I think, and certainly in your role in this space in advocacy, I think is really want to highlight the good work that's done, because the people who are actually doing this, it's like when we talk about Apple and accessibility or Windows or whatever it might be. We talk about the product, we forget there are real human beings in there who are working their backsides off to make these things accessible, to do the job, to fight against endless updates, new interfaces, new products all the time. And they still deliver every single day. And I think you've just got to stop sometimes and say, well done, thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's, okay, there could always be more. We're always going to complain about something, about a product. We're always going to complain. I certainly absolutely will every single day. But the point is, huge work is being done, and it's important sometimes to stop and acknowledge it.
Exactly. And there's also a lot of initiatives that are being set, like even just recently at GDC, there was an initiative that where a lot of studios and companies came together to be able to launch a accessible games initiative where they're including accessibility tags on all, they're trying to be able to put them on all storefronts so that disabled players can know what game has which. And we're talking companies like Google, Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, EA. They all came together, and over the course of the past several years have grouped together to basically come up with these accessibility tags and work together to share that accessibility knowledge across all those companies. So and that's just announced within the past few weeks. So it's slow work, but we're all starting to kind of come together, and we're going to see a lot more companies really take accessibility seriously. And so I'm just hopeful that we'll get to a point where it'd be like, I can start nitpicking what blind accessibility games have instead of just saying, why doesn't it have some?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I've been following a lot of interest online about this, social media, following what people have been saying. And there's a lot of blind people, I think, online who have been talking about, I'm kind of interested now in maybe getting a Nintendo Switch 2. Possibly they can use it themselves, or family can use it, they can have fun with it. But there's also some who are saying, well, look, some of these games like you were talking about on the Xbox, on the PC, would be more accessible to stay with those platforms. What's your advice just now in regards to purchase decisions for a Nintendo Switch 2? Is it for blind people now? Could a blind person use it and enjoy it? Or do you think that this is more for low vision at this stage?
I think low vision for sure. With the screen reader, the text size, the invert colors, and also the larger screen, which that's something to be said too. Like being able to have hold the screen really close to your eyes is a big thing. And the fact I can be able to do that without having to sort of push my nose onto the TV, which is super annoying. Yeah. That is, I think low vision will definitely benefit from the new Switch 2. For anyone who is kind of closer to the completely blind side of the blindness spectrum, I would say it's kind of a wait and see. There is progress, and it's great to be able to see that potentially down the road we'll have some games that can be fully blind accessible. But for internet right now, I would probably say wait until we can until there's any confirmed games that are definitely going to be fully blind accessible, whether that's ports from Xbox or PlayStation or just from within Nintendo themselves.
Sorry, Shaun, you're sticking with Night Manager.
Okay, I'll keep going.
The weirdest game. Have you heard of this game, Steve? Do you ever play Night Manager?
Yeah. It's,
do you play it, Steve?
I have not. No, I've heard basically the gameplay of it, and so it's enjoyable. I get it. It's great.
There you go. A game's a game.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't get it. It's like I managed to put it off one night, turn up the next day, put the thing on, and suddenly I'd slaughtered 300 people. Made so much money. I didn't even do anything. How did that work? I have no idea.
You would have loved that, Stephen.
I'm very proud of myself.
Did you try out Skyrim on Alexa as well? No? Did you know that was available?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, I think they made it as a joke initially, so I don't know if it's still there now. But there was the regular joke of Skyrim was just Elder Scrolls, and it's kind of one of the most famous Bethesda games. But it was so popular, it was just getting ported everywhere that there was a thing that actually Alexa or Amazon did put it out for the Alexa. So I can't remember if it's there now, if there was a smaller experience of it. But as far as
I've got to search for it. On that note, talking about going a bit retro, I heard, and you mentioned EA earlier on, Electronic Arts, they've released Command & Conquer series open source. So I'm hoping that someone will pick that up and make that accessible, and I can go mining Tiberium or whatever it was called again. I used to love that game.
I used to love that game too, and I am so looking forward to seeing what can come out of that. Like, yeah, being open source definitely does open up for the modding community to make that even more accessible. So, yeah, I can't wait to see what comes from that.
Wow, Steve, I love having you on. YouTube channel. Tell us how people can find you, because YouTube's where I find you every couple of days.
Yeah, you'd be able to find me on YouTube, youtube.com/@Steve Saylor, and Saylor's Saylor. Every day I have a podcast called Gaming Insight Daily, where I talk about the latest gaming news and try to find an accessibility angle on that. And then that's where I put up also previews of games that are coming out. I'm fingers crossed, knock on wood, I'll be able to check out the Switch 2 soon before launch, so I can be able to have some previews of that. And then you can be able to check out my reviews of games as they come out on a regular basis.
Yeah, please do subscribe to that channel, because if you want to follow this and you're interested in this, you got to follow Steve, because there's no point following us on that one, I'll tell you. But we just want Steve on here to explain it to us. So we really appreciate your time, Steve. Thank you so much as always for coming on.
Not a problem. It's been my pleasure. And anytime you want to chat, I'm always up for it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
What a great guy. Honestly, love having Steve on the show. And youtube.com/@Steve Saylor, Saylor. Go and subscribe. And while you're there, subscribe to Double Tap Video as well, which is where you'll find us, youtube.com/DoubleTapVideo. You got to put that in, and that will get you to our content. That is it for us today. That's it for the week. Next week, it's all about the feedback, all about emails. We're going to have emails. We're going to have lots of emails next week.
Every week.
We're not doing that today. We're not doing it today.
Next week.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. That's it from us, though. Thank you, as always. We'll catch you next time for another Double Tap. Thank you, Shaun. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.